I would like to start off the third session. The third session is AI, a part of Vision 2040. As we've had many useful sessions and panel discussions, this is something very interesting to see. How is Vision 2040 and AI aligned, and how AI is going to take us to the Vision 2040? So for here, I would like to welcome Warit Al-Kharousi. Warit Al-Kharousi is the chairman of Oman Center for Skills Development, an organization called Maharat. He's also a CILT International Oman Chapter board member, and he's also on the Oman Logistics Association. So without further delay, I would like to welcome Warit Al-Kharousi to please come over and take us through AI, a part of Vision 2040.
Thank you very much, Sadiq. Can you hear me all? Okay, I think this session is very much about the artificial intelligence as part of the Oman 2040 vision. Before we get into that, I would like to ask the panel members, to come and join me. Can I ask Saleh Al-Namr to join me, please? Okay, Fadal. Please take a seat there. Thank you. How are you doing? Okay, well. Mr. Ram Prakash, please. How are you doing? Okay. Yeah. Mr. Hilal Al-Habsi of Globcom. I'm sure he'll be on his way. We have Maha Al-Habsi as well. Okay, when they do come in, let me know and we can start. So anyway, I think the session is very much about AI interface as part of the Oman 2040 vision. But what is AI? I think this is the most important question to all of us. And to keep it simple, I personally believe AI is the main driver for the fourth industrial revolution taking place. Because technology was there for a long while, internet and a few other things. But the artificial intelligence has actually accelerated the fourth industrial revolution. And also it enables that a lot of complex problems are solved in a lot faster way. And that is why the artificial intelligence is the fuel for that fourth industrial revolution. Oman, of course, is adapting to digitization, and it's very, very important that they adapt it fast, because it's a possibility for a good diversification from the current oil and gas dependency of the economy. If you do digitization and also you complement it with other technologies, then you can create the right innovation. And that innovation will help the diversification. It will also help job creation, which I think Oman needs a lot. And then, of course, we are all worldwide, globally, we are all adapting and embarking on embracing technology. So today, if you don't do it at the pace that is needed to be adapted, you'll be left behind. So it's almost a must, and it has to be done. But then who are the beneficiaries of artificial intelligence technology? I think what comes in mind initially and many times is security. I think in today's world, we have a lot of technology. We need a lot of security to secure it. And manually, it is almost impossible to do. So when you do the things in terms of security, for example, for large systems and people, as you must have heard, there's a lot of hacking going on around. How can you monitor this if you're going to do it in a sort of just a manual way? You need artificial intelligence to scout around, monitor what's the activities going on, and able to intervene a lot faster. And as you know, if you're going to have it on from morning to afternoon, it can't happen. It needs to be 24 hours, basically it needs to be done every little second that you have. So you have hackers coming into your systems and security. It's almost impossible to do it without artificial intelligence. So, and in terms of security, there's a lot of sort of things that are being done. For instance, image processing, facial recognitions, and also predictive analysis are all under the security type of technologies that will enable you to secure your technologies, etc. The other beneficiary of artificial intelligence is customer services. Now you probably know there's a lot of corporations right now who are doing things in a manual way. Sheikh Hilal. I think we'll need artificial intelligence to give you the timing, Hilal. Please just join us. Okay. Hilal will introduce you a little bit further on just to discuss about the day's proceedings. So one other major beneficiary of artificial intelligence is customer services, customer experience, et cetera, et cetera. And those are areas that really, in today's world, require a lot of creativity and sort of experience for people to come back to your workplace. So without artificial intelligence, you have a very wide customer base. Some of them you don't hardly see them. So you need to make sure that all that is incorporated. And if you actually reach in every person's sort of feelings, either through social media or through other means, but it is not necessarily a face-to-face. So you need artificial type of intelligence to be able to tell you who are the audiences, who are you reaching, how are they being reached, what sort of feedback do you get. So customer services and customer experience is one big beneficiary as well of artificial intelligence. And you've probably heard that healthcare is another big beneficiary of artificial intelligence. In the good old ways, you'd go to your doctor and he will ask you what is the problem, etc. But now things can be done virtually, and sometimes the specialist doctors are not easily available. So with artificial intelligence, you can go there with a specific kind of questions and algorithms. That kind of diagnosis can be done online, or you don't even need to see the person. And you must have heard things like doctors' operations done remotely nowadays. So things like that are big beneficiaries of artificial intelligence. And not to forget, transportation and logistics is a big one, which is coming on. You must have heard about automated vehicles, driverless trucks, and so forth. Yeah, this cannot be done. This is almost impossible if you didn't have artificial intelligence to scout around the environment and also making it happen. So those are very, very important, and these are still new technologies, and we are learning every day. And to drive them, make them safely, you just definitely need a lot of data. You need to process the data. You want to see how safely can you do that. And also you have a varied environments that you have to go through, and that's impossible to keep pace if you don't have artificial intelligence. Last but not least, particularly for our country, where we depend on energy and oil and gas sort of activities to run our economy. Also, green energy activities in the oil and gas and activities within the solar and all these sort of things do require artificial intelligence to make them automated. You can't basically know exactly what's going on without all those being reached, okay? So to me, I think these are the main things about artificial intelligence. I'm hoping I've given you a little bit of insight what is artificial intelligence, because everybody uses the word in a loose way. But I think, to me, I try to keep it simple, and I'm hoping that we can get along. However, the people who are experts around the table here, so which is what I would like to introduce here. We have Saleh Al-Nemar, and he's going to talk to us. He's from Hewlett-Packard, very expertise. And he's going to talk about advanced way we work and live through artificial intelligence and accelerated analysis. So hopefully I may have covered a few things there. Maybe you can give him better insights as an expert. Thank you. Then we have Mr. Ram Prakash, okay, of Zoho Corporation. And of course, he's going to talk about artificial intelligence in the logistics business automation. Maybe I may have covered in the initial thing, so maybe you can give us a bit of a better insight to that aspect. Last but not least, I think Maha is here now. Okay. So I'll introduce her anyway, and when she comes in, we just take the seat. Maha Al-Habsi. Are you related, Mr. Hilal? And, okay. So Hilal Al-Habsi here is Executive Director of the Global Computer Services, Globcom. I know it's a local company. It does a lot of things on artificial intelligence. So when I say Oman is accelerating the adoption of artificial intelligence, it's not by talk, but reality is that we have local companies and they have done a great thing. So please, Hilal, open up to what is available in Oman and how can we come to your organization and give us that extra, what do you call it, fuel to make the acceleration in digitization. And last but not least, we'll ask Maha to join us as well, Maha Al-Habsi. She's from Middle East College, which in the Knowledge Oasis. And she'll talk about IoT in blockchain with artificial intelligence enabling. So to me, I'd like to introduce those, and thank you very much for that. So what I'll do now, I will go take a seat, and we will talk a little bit further. Maybe I'll go towards the Hilal there, so it's a lot easier to catch up.
I think we can sit there,
huh?
otherwise we cannot see. We'll sit there, no?
No, we'll sit over here. You'll sit here, you can see there. Right? Okay, I'll...
might prevent him showing.
Okay, no, okay, Mr. Saleh,
Yes.
and as we discussed here, could you give us your insights about the artificial intelligence, the way we work, and how we live? Maybe will it improve our lives? Please go ahead.
Thank you so
Introduce yourself a little bit depth,
Sure.
and then also go to your subject, and we've got another 10, 15 minutes to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks so much for hosting me here. My name is Saleh Al-Nemar. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for HP in Saudi and Gulf region, part of the UK MESA office. And I'm delighted to be here with you, here with our partner SDS at Oman. So I would like to stand up because I can speak more freely. Can I use the clicker? So I want to go to 3 points that you mentioned before. So the first one is, I'm going to skip, so what we do and how we look at things. So when we talk about AI and analytics, we look into 2 main areas. The first one is how we collect this information that we have today, how we process these information, how we store them, and then how we can get insights from them. And that's basically what, when we look at the analytics. Our human race had 4 revolutions. We started with the first revolution with the Stone Age man, where we started with understanding things, trying to exploring things around us. Then we had the Industrial Revolution, where we know how to mechanize things, how to create new machines, electricity and connectivity, electricity revolution, so how we can start with more devices, how we can connect things and make things similar to us. And then we move to the Industrial Revolution, the Internet Revolution, or the Internet Evolution, and the Industrial 4 Revolution that we have today, where AI does a lot of work and enable us to do many areas. The reason why we look into the mega trends that drive digital transformation around us, especially with AI, is looking at the experience, we look at engineering, we look at digitization, platforms, intelligence, and operating model and trust. If you look at all these 4 areas, this is actually what our society is looking at today. Today, if I want to do things, I want to have trust, I need to have value, I need to engineer things to make things simpler for us. I heard before in the previous session that the more we rely on technology, the more we rely on AI, our ability as a human become weaker from certain areas. That's maybe true. However, if you move forward, you cannot, let's say, create a lot of technologies or a lot of solutions if there is no digitization, if there's no AI in the middle. So that a tax that we have to pay. However, it's up to us to teach our generation, our kids, our next generation how to utilize this in a better value. Looking at all these areas, we will find that there is platforms, engineering, experience, digitization, all these elements enable us to create the digital environment, which is the AI, the new AI systems. And these AI systems basically comes from many, many areas. When we identify initiatives in our labs, our research centers, we found 6 main areas that we believe that it is touching our life. Doctor today mentioned them. So one of them is human ability. So digital manufacturing was one of these areas, how to enable much quality applications with much efficient components or efficient materials. Speech to text recognition. So any information, human-based information that we can utilize, a humanized digital environment allows us to do things much better today. We see the assistance that we have in cars, mobile phone, and so on. We look at surveillance and videos. Security is a big piece of our life today. And when we talk about digital environment, when AI with security, we talk about securing our back ends, securing our front ends, securing our assets, physical and virtual. And then we talk about autonomous driving. So when we talk about cars and the way that we see them, today we believe that they are developing, so there is some good models. However, safety features in the car is getting much advanced. So cars can brake by themselves in case there's an object in front of them. This by itself is a big advancement in the driving skills we have in the road today. And then we go genomics. The first genomic research to create a DNA sequence for a human took 18 months. Today you can do that in less than 5 to 10 minutes. And this is where the accelerated digital analytics is growing more and more. And finally, creating new cures that require us, especially with what we have in the pandemic, within 1 year we find a cure for something that had attacked the whole world. That because we have the right digital technologies and the right analytics platforms to run on the ground today. Any questions? So one point that was mentioned today is about how we share information in the right fashion. And this is where I want to talk about something we call swarm learning. So instead of sharing our data as people, we share how the machine learned from this data. So instead I'm going to share you what information I have to process, I will share the parameters of these processes so the AI can reverse engineer the right algorithms to provide better insights for different data sets in different locations. And that by itself is a big shift and a big advancement in our ability to understand how we can share knowledge and information to advance our way that we live and work.
Thank you very much. Well done, and in time as well. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions,
of course,
because you've put in a lot of stuff there. We'd like to leave the questions to the end, if you don't mind, so that we are at least within the time. But we would like to really have a good question and answer at the end, so please keep your questions with you. We'll take them on. Let us now invite Ram Prakash to give us his insights in terms of artificial intelligence for the logistics business automation. So it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Can I have the deck, please? So I'm Ram Prakash, and I lead the AI research for Zoho. Zoho is the operating system of business, so any business tools, everything from recruitment to HR management to accounting to CRM to help desk. So we have an all-in-all solution. So I built Zoho's AI stack from the ground up. So today, I'm going to give you my experience with building AI systems for the enterprise, and my experiences where I have seen enterprises consuming AI in their day-to-day line of business with a special focus on logistics. So a brief introduction about Zoho. We have our booth right outside there. We are a 25-year-old company. We are run like a traditional business. We never took any external funding, and we have been profitable since inception. We also have a strong privacy stance where even our free tier will not have any advertisements. So we strongly believe that adjunct surveillance is really bad when it comes to enterprise software. So this is Zoho.com over the years. Today we have 45 plus applications that have beautiful cloud and mobile apps to help get your business done. And this is our global presence. Our regional presence is here in Dubai. And we have been working on AI for 11 plus years. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples, the challenges we faced, and then how our customers started using it, and so on. So all of it has been built in-house, and they have all been very tightly knit together in order to deliver maximum value to our end users. And generally, the last session, we had a very good discussion on privacy and things like that. And most of the times when people talk about AI, they talk about the consumer space, right? So the social networks you use, the search engines you use. And the challenge here is all of these are built on business models that are driven by data, right? You don't pay for your search engine, you don't pay for your social network. Instead, you give back a lot of personal data, and they have built a $1 trillion business model around it. Now, look at enterprise software, right? So you pay for the software, and you don't have terabytes of data. You don't even have gigabytes of data. You probably have 150 rows of data, right? So, and the quality of predictions that is going to come out of your AI system, let's say one wrong friend recommendation isn't going to harm you, but let's say I am in logistics and I am predicting an escalation from a customer. One wrong escalation and the customer is going to turn off that AI feature that is going to predict this because he knows more, right? So you have very little data to start with, and then the quality of your predictions should be top notch. And generally we talk about business automation. Over the last 5 to 10 years, we have been talking a lot about process automation, where what was pen and paper is now digitized. You have all your smartphone apps and all that. But today, with AI in the fray, it has become decision automation, right? So that is what AI makes to the whole thing. Now, let's say there is a process. How do I take this decision? And again, there is also a difference between consumer and enterprise software here. Now, if you look at enterprise software, a decision is not taken by a single person. It's going to be taken by a team, and then the team has a manager to report into, the manager has a manager to report into, and it is all documented. Right? So the need for quality, tightly connected, low data AI solution that does high value predictions is more important in business. So that is the difference between your consumer AI and enterprise AI. But technically, enterprise software always has the late mover advantage, right? Think about it. We have been using a lot of consumer mobile apps in the last 10 years, but only recently we have started using a lot of mobile apps to get our business done. Right? So we have this late mover advantage in enterprise software, so that is again adding to the value. So companies need to have an AI strategy because you're not a startup that's just going to do AI. You have your line of business, and how do you retrofit AI into this existing business process where you have a manager to approve what you do and everything is logged and all that. So this is where the need for an interconnected suite comes in. So Zoho One is like a bundle of 45 plus apps where the life cycle of a customer, let's say you are in the logistics business and the life cycle of a customer software is captured, and he comes in the CRM as a lead, and then you make him his customer, and then you track his life cycle through the support desk. You do his purchase payments and invoices through your finance thing. So all of it is captured. That makes the platform AI ready, so that data is not just in silos, but a very well interconnected, it's in a very well interconnected place to get things done. So now I will quickly show you screenshots of the little things. Again, as Sir said, I'm not really going to talk about self-driving cars and trucks, but let's say the back office of your logistics business. What are the little things that you can do? How can you take the zero to first step in AI? Because there's a lot of fear of missing out about AI, right? Whenever they talk about AI, they talk about self-driving cars, cancer cures, and whatnot. But as an enterprise, how can you get started with AI into your everyday business? So now this is a grammar error detection and correction engine as a part of Zoho. Now, if you see that, it's also able to explain why the particular thing was flagged as an error and why it was corrected in so and so way. Again, let's say you have an editorial process and then somebody is reviewing your documents. All of these explanations make a lot of sense. Right? Again, this is a very subjective opinion of whatever you have written. It captures the ease of reading and all that. This again in the note-taking app. Now, any of your enterprise software's editor will have this grammar functionality built in. And we have been working on Zoho Translate, where we have a lot of language pairs that we can do. So here is an example. So look at the list of languages that we have. And this is from Zoho Desk, our customer support tool. Right? Let's say a support manager who receives 100 tickets a day is only able to read 10 tickets that day, then it is best he reads it from his angriest customers. Right? So again, the sentiment analysis can help you filter out and stuff. And let's say you're doing something very frequently, then you can naturally learn all the patterns and automate it. Of course, whatever business, even though invoices are generated digitally, especially in a market like logistics, where you have a digitally generated invoice, but the other person, other entity is going to consume it by taking a photo on his mobile phone. He's going to consume it in the analog format. So now there is an OCR engine that can extract all the information out of it. Of course, this is in your CRM system where you're predicting if a lead would actually convert or not, so that you can have your best salesmen in the customers that you will think of they are of more value. Again, this is from an anomaly detection engine. You can see the explanation here. This has resulted in a 1.8 times increase in page load time from the base load thing. This explanation is really helpful from an enterprise context of deploying AI. Again, when you're searching through your inventory, it's not just text. You can also search through objects. You're searching for a table and you get this result here. So, and this is also exposed to developers so that they can come in. So today, as an AI developer, you need to have access to tons of data, but that might not be possible all the time. So when this is exposed to developers, it becomes easy for them to build apps on top of it. This is building your own OCR engine. So basically, this breadth and depth is necessary for enterprise AI to take off, to start using, because AI is a super heavy investment, right? And how do you generate your ROI out of it? A very deeply interconnected software suite can help you do that. So again, this is something in our inventory management suite where, let's say you're shipping boxes, you have your small boxes and then you have your bigger boxes. How do you optimally arrange the smaller boxes in your bigger boxes so that you can optimize your shipping costs? Again, not high-flying stuff, not really drone delivery or something, but a very little thing where you can optimally pack and then minimize your shipping costs. We think this is a good starting point to AI in 2022. And slowly over the years, in 2040, we will be having a lot of bigger stuff like self-driving trucks and all that. So they need very connected AI first. The idea for thinking AI first is very important because see, when we started building AI in 2011-12, the first challenge we had was we were not able to normalize all the data. For example, the date fields, right? Even in one single app of Zoho, we have had multiple formats of dates. So in order to bring it to a single format and then get the analytics ball rolling was a challenge. So have an AI first thought process where log all of your data points, make sure all your privacy principles are in place and all that. So again, from a Zoho's perspective, we optimize the full stack to deliver better AI technology, because it is, the more connected it is, the better. So again, Zoho One, which I talked about, fast-moving logistics companies will need a platform like Zoho One to get things started. So a privacy-first, deeply integrated technology provider is the key to supercharging your back-office logistics AI strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that was very insightful, and you can see what the world of artificial intelligence is going in. But also like the idea about keep it simple, start slow, and then go ahead. Yeah, good. Right, we'd like to invite Sheikh Hilal Al-Habsi. Yeah? Maha? Oh, okay. Sorry. Please join us and welcome. Maha has just joined us, Al-Habsi. You're from Middle East College, and inshallah we'll look forward to your presentation. In the meanwhile, we'll start with Hilal, and then maybe yours will come after that, okay? Thank you very much. Sure. Right, Hilal, so please take us along. I've worked with Hilal for many years. I know he's a technocrat or artificial intelligence guru or something, and he's executive director. But he's going to give us the cultural challenges. How can Oman weave it through this artificial intelligence, and really get into the adaptation of digital transformation. Shukran, Sheikh Hilal. So your floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. So I'm going to bring you all back to the ground. I think the past 2 days, you've all been flying very high up in the sky with the technologies and AI and technologies like that. So I'm going to put the spanner in the works, as they say. So we're going to see what might stop you from achieving using AI or any other technology to digital transformation. I think there are about 4 talks already on digital transformation and how we could utilize technology to transform our businesses. So I'm going to show when companies fail to transform themselves. Many companies succeed, and I have examples, and some companies fail. So those who fail, what is the reason? The biggest reason, the experts say, for failure is culture. So I have a very beautiful picture to start with, just to lift up the spirit of the butterflies. I'll come to the butterflies later on, inshallah. So, so I'm not the only one saying this. I'm not here to say about this. These are the experts saying. Capgemini looked at 340 companies and asked them what is the challenge for their digital transformation. And out of 62% said there were cultural issues. Skills, legacy systems was also some of the problem, but the biggest problem was culture. Why it's not moving? Okay, Gartner, I think you're all familiar with Gartner, says culture is the #1 inhibitor to scaling up digital transformation.
I'll give you some room.
You might be able to start with the digital transformation, but scaling up enterprise-wide, you will find culture is your #1 problem. And McKinsey, one of big consultancy firm, in their report 2 years ago, he said the most cited obstacles for digital transformation are skills, talent, and cultural issues. So culture is been cited by those experts to be the major roadblock for your digital transformation. Peter Drucker, the management guru, okay, this is his very famous saying about 10 years ago, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So whatever strategies you have, if you don't take care of culture, your strategy will not work. So, however, all transformation, we said, not only digital transformation, have culture as their major obstacles. We'll go back in history. In our own religion, the early Islam, when Islam started, there was also big cultural issues. People were saying, how come you want, Islam wants everybody to be equal? Okay, we cannot be, free men cannot be the same as a slave, and so on. Women cannot inherit, they are supposed to be inherited themselves. But how can Islam say women can also inherit when their husbands die, for example? And things like that. So those are cultural issues which try to push back the adoption of Islam. So you all know some people who are as old as me. You remember this guy, Chairman Mao, when he introduced communism to China in the late 40s. Okay, they had two big strategy objectives. Was they wanted to be the biggest producer of steel in the world, because they thought steel will usher in industrial revolution for their country. It was a major farming countries only, so they want to go into the industrial revolution. And they thought steel will help them do that. And also they want to double the food production in the country. A lot of people were dying in China because of hunger. But they failed on both of those objectives. So Chairman Mao resigned, went back to his village, and then came back later on and said, the problem we have is culture. We're not able to meet our objective because culture, the Chinese culture has stopped us. So they came with this idea of the Cultural Revolution, I think in the 60s, early 60s. It was a big disaster. Okay, they identified the problem with the culture, but the implementation of that was a disaster. Okay, they were parading people, leaders, directors, ministers in the street. Okay, these are the people who have stopped us advancing. Okay, and I think 2 million people died. So, although they identify culture as a culprit, but still they did not have a proper solution for that. I was privileged about 3 years ago to meet the Minister of Transport in Oman, and he told us that they've been trying to transform the taxi business in Oman by introducing the app, helping them so that they are more visible. They can work on proper timing, on proper routes. Okay, they have more visibility. But there was a big pushback. The taxi driver didn't want to have anything of that. They completely refused. They say, we don't want this technology. We don't want to be controlled by technology. And the whole thing was abandoned. Okay? And now there are other people who have gone around it to start with some taxi apps. And also some old taxi drivers are coming along slowly. So culture can be, you need to take, what I'm trying to say, you need to take care of culture if you want to do the transformation. So what do we mean by culture? We're not meaning Arab culture or Islamic culture or Hindi culture or like that. What we mean is organizational culture. Okay, and culture, organizational culture is something which is built, which evolves in the organization over the years. It's the way they do work. The unwritten rules. Culture consists of unwritten rules. It's just the way people have been doing things over the years. Okay, nobody knows. Nobody said, okay, this is the culture you should have in your organization. It just happens. It just builds up ground. You find so and so is always, this guy is always chairing the meetings. Okay, and nobody knows why this person is always the chair of the meetings. It it just happened. This is the way it happens in that organization. We always do things this way. Okay, so that is culture. But it helps people how to work and how to get things done. And so becomes internal to people. And if you try to go against it, then they will push back. Unless they know you sell it properly to them, why they should do things differently. Transformation, as I said, is a process. Okay, now we are back again to the butterflies. You know, when I was young, when I was little, I used to think the caterpillar and the butterfly are two different animals. I never knew they were the same animals, just transformed into another. So the transformation is like that. Okay, and it's not just to make the caterpillar, for example, stronger or bigger or faster or eats less. No, it's to make him a different animal. So that when we talk about transformation is moving completely into shape and form and the nature of whatever it is gets transformed. So when you come to digital transformation, this is what says what it is not. It is not automation. It's not like that you have a manual system and you make it digital, then you say it, and you automate it and you said, I've done transformation. That's not transformation. Or you're not digitizing. People will go into, let's say, go paperless office. That is also not digital transformation. You just do digitization. So there's a difference between digitization and digital transformation. And there's not also scaling up. You said, okay, one part of the business is digital, one person is not digital, so we are making the whole business as digital, then we're doing digital transformation. That's also is not digital transformation, not that one we are talking about here. What we're talking here is the application of digital technology to fundamentally impact the whole business. You change the whole thing, okay? And there are examples which I will give. So the way you interact with your customer is different. It could be you are producing the same products, but also maybe in a different format. We're using different methodology, different resources to do whatever you want to do. So what are the examples we've seen? I'm just giving one example of the two big newspapers in America, Washington Post and New York Times. One completely went digital. They digital transformed themselves, Washington Post. Now it's only available on digital, and New York Times. You can see the difference here. Washington Post make 500 stories per day using only 700 staff. New York Times, they have 240, half of the stories per day, and twice the number of employees. And you go now to the Washington Post offices, you don't see, maybe you don't even see people there. Maybe they closed down most of their buildings, and many people are working from home, many people, okay, but they are producing some of the best news around. Okay, the other one, I think you're all familiar, Uber completely transformed the taxi business, Airbnb, okay, the biggest hotel chain, but they don't have even one hotel of their own. Okay, also Uber, the biggest taxi company, but they don't have even one single taxi. M-Pesa, people who visit East Africa, they'll see that what M-Pesa has done to revolutionary the money transaction. Actually, there are PhD thesis and master thesis have been written on the M-Pesa revolution. You can read more on the internet about this. So that is the problem. How do we mitigate this problem? Okay, the first one is you need to go back to your mission and vision. Make sure that it is clear to everybody. Because if many of us in our organization, we have a vision statement, but they are always in a CEO's office, in a frame somewhere. Many people do not know what is. So when there is a change coming in, first thing they will push back. But if you help them to know what is their vision, and it will help them to be able to switch and make the change. This example I've given here is in 1960 when the President of the United States visited NASA, and he met this janitor, and this janitor said his job is not to mop the floor. His job at NASA was to put a man on the moon. This is the cleaner, okay? But he considered himself that he is part of the team which is putting a man on the moon. Okay, so that clarity of vision, clarity of purpose need to be across the board from the lowest person to the highest director of the company. So the corporate identity is also very important for the culture. Who you are, what you believe in. Every company has its own identity, okay, the way they do things, what are their value system of the company. So you need to work on those, either to change it or to change the way you are doing it so that it is in line with what you are trying to do. So you use corporate identity to push your changes you want to do. So you design intervention to align with or to change the corporate identity. Okay, so and Bank Muscat has got their own corporate identity, how they do things, how do they react to their customers. An oil company, Dalil or PDO, they've got their own identity and so on and so forth. Another thing is important for digital transformation and to make sure that the culture is being looked at is having leaders, not managers. There is a big difference. I've got a whole slide on the difference between leaders and managers. Okay, we could look at it later on. Leaders are the ones you need who will help you to go through the cultural problems and not the managers. They need to be change agile. They should be able to quickly change things. Okay, they should not be the ones saying we always do things this way. So who are you to come and want us to change? The clarity of purpose, which I've mentioned before, should be able to take risks, should be allowed to make mistakes. Okay, if you don't make mistakes, you will not learn. Okay, for any project, they say you either succeed, you either win, or you learn. Okay, there's only two outcomes for a project. Okay, so we learn more from failures than we learn from success. Okay, so failure is a good thing. Okay, they should be able to experiment, to be able to allow people to experiment, to encourage experimentation in the organization. And they should be able to partner. No company nowadays can do everything on their own. They should be able to partner with other companies, with other maybe freelancers, whatever, bring them on board. The organization needs to be structured. Many organizations, even here in Oman, they're already restructuring the organizations. You have these multidisciplinary teams, that you have teams which consider from the finance, from the production, from the operations, from the maintenance, they're all working together as one team. Okay, and also the people themselves needs to be able to be multidisciplinary people. They should be able to do different things. People should not say, I'm only an accountant here. I don't know about those operational issues. Okay, so I remember when I was working in the refinery a long time ago, we had one CEO, and he wanted to have the finance manager to go up the towers of the refinery, to put on the safety boots and hat and to go on the towers. And this finance manager says, that's not my job, I'm an accountant. Why should I know about production? Why should I know about the oil, type of different oils we're producing? But actually, new organizations should be like that everybody should understand the business. The CIO is an important role in digital transformation and to make sure that they adapt to the culture. Should be a strategic organization, should not just be putting rules, what we could do. I remember also, again, another example when I was working in the oil and gas. Somebody came to me, he said, I can go to CCC and buy a laptop within half an hour. Why, if I ask a laptop for IT department, it takes 3 months? Okay? So those are the challenges the culture is supposed to solve. Okay? That you have systems in place over the years which have evolved and they are stopping the transformation. Again, leader, not manager, and also nowadays the CIO is part of the top management. If your organization, the manager, IT manager is not part of the management team, then it will be very difficult to do a transformation. But sometimes the culture is too deep, you cannot do anything about it. Okay, this is an example I think I've given there. The Saudi Telecoms. Saudi Telecoms is a huge organization. They have more than 15 million subscribers. So doing a digital transformation for that, the culture was too big to tackle. So they decided to do a spin-off, another company, which was much more digital, addressing the young generation and be able to deliver services in the modern way of business. So that's another way. If you cannot deal with the culture, okay, you either have an ambidextrous. Ambidextrous means a company with both cultures. Okay, one part of the organization they are going digital and everything, and another part is still the old way, or you have a spin-off. Or my favorite actually is this Gartner's 10 hacks for culture, to how to tackle culture. These are small steps manager can take to make sure that to bring in new way of thinking, a new way of working. Okay, one is all meetings should support a new strategy. So you have a strategy in organizations, so you make sure that all the discussions going on in the organization, they are part of that. Gartner give an example of one organization where the director was a lady director. She was going around the organization to all the meetings, going into meetings and ask them, is this meeting about our new strategy? And if they say no, she said, okay, this meeting is cancelled. You all go back to your offices until when your meeting is about our new strategy, then you can come back. And she will go to all the meeting rooms telling people off and close the meetings and go back. So these are things that are emotional, they're immediate, they are visible, okay, and it's a low effort. Just tell people to go back. Okay, so these are the steps, small steps you can take to make sure that the culture is changing the organization. Celebrate failure. Normally we hang people who fail, but here the Gartner says no, you should celebrate the people who failed. Okay, because they are bringing a lot of value, as I said earlier, learning when you fail. Okay, there are companies in America, these fund managers, they will not give any startup, they will not give loan or money, they will not invest if they have not failed. The more failure you have, the more valuable it is to them because you have learned a lot. Okay? And if you said, I've never failed in my life, so it's thank you very much, go away. Okay? And Gartner suggests 48 hours decision, that every decision should be made within 48 hours. Otherwise, the whole thing is cancelled. If you cannot make decision in 48 hours, so you couldn't have, we have in our inbox, even me, you have emails coming in, you look at them, you don't make anything. 2 days, 3 days, you have not said yes or no. You just say yes or no to that decision, get things moving. Okay, so, and you reward the decision, whether it's good or bad. If somebody has made a decision, one company which actually they made that they give score for decisions. If you make a good decision, you get 3 points. If you make bad decisions, you get 1 point. So even if you made a bad decision, still you are ahead than the person who did not make a decision at all. Okay? and then status meeting. This is very common things, part of the culture that we all have status meeting to see where the project is. Okay, you don't need those meetings. Okay, that culture of meetings that we always have, that we should meet every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, there should be a meeting. Why? Okay, then meetings become the objective, not the subject. Okay, having meeting together that there's nothing to discuss, but still you go and meet because it says there in your calendar that at 10 o'clock you should go and meet. I'd advise you to see a film clip going back to the 80s. It's called Bloody Meetings. I think it is on YouTube, you can have a look. So these are the 5 from the Gartner 10. There are other 5. I don't think I need to go through. You can look them yourself. And I would like to stop there.
Thank you, Sheikh Habsi. Very important subject, actually, because the transformation is not only about digital or technology. It's the culture of the people. I think this is probably the biggest barrier than the technology that you have. So I think it's very insightful what you've given us. And I think in our culture here, we have to see how we can embrace things faster. Things like failure. In our culture, you don't fail, you have to pass every time. So we really need to rethink the way we are doing things. And that's the only way we can succeed. So yeah, there's a lot to be done culturally. And I'm glad you actually brought that up in terms of, we always talk about technology, the hardware, but we're not talking about what we need to do and how it happens. And as you said, simple stuff, like telling people that if you're not talking about strategy, then you're not aligned, you know. So those kind of things, leadership is very, very important. Thank you very much, Sheikh Hilal. Excellent, good insight. Now we will going to invite Maha. And she's from Middle East College, and she's going to give us a bit more insight about Internet of Things, blockchain, and all those things that are quite complex. So she'll make it easy for us. Go ahead, Maha. Thank you very much. Okay.
So, hello everyone. Here is Maha Al-Habsi, a lecturer from Middle East College and also a research scholar from Port Industrial Regulations and specialized in blockchain. Today, inshallah, just
Maha,
give you... Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you put a little bit of the... Yeah, okay, right.
Okay. So today, inshallah, I just give you a quick concept about the blockchain, IoT, and artificial intelligence, and how we can combine those innovations, technology together, and you can just imagine the effects that's becoming when you combine all these 3 technologies. So the focal point which I will discuss it inshallah today, it's about the transaction between the blockchain and IoT with the AI, and the second thing is about how we can manage that data which is coming from the IoT devices by using the blockchain techniques, and the second thing it can be the authentication about the blockchains passed to identities. So first of all, as we already know, we are already familiar with the 4th Industrial Revolution, which is about blockchain, IoT devices, and artificial intelligence. Nowadays, those innovation technologies are recording to be a potential to improving a current business and also to create a business model and just improving the high level of the business process and how to make it easy if you use that kind of technologies. How we can combine those? Is my voice clear? Or just like I have to make this. It's better. Okay. So first of all, just to give you an idea how we can interaction between the blockchain, IoT, and artificial intelligence. Before that, science, we already know the blockchain technology, it's coming in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is providing about the cryptocurrency also only. Nowadays, the concept of the blockchain actually was changed because we can use the blockchain technology not only for the currencies, we can use it only for the many sectors, for example, logistic and education, and also the healthy sectors. And for the IoT devices, Now we cannot just imagine the life without the Internet of Things, that IoT devices. Actually, it's coming a part of our life, isn't it? So the next thing is about artificial intelligence, how we can use that techniques which providing by artificial intelligence to analyze the data which is coming from IoT devices, and we use the blockchain to just securing the IoT devices. As we already know, the big challenge which is the IoT devices faces those days, it's about the security level, because the IoT devices is actually interact between each other by telecommunications applications, and we already faced some hack from these applications. So nowadays we are try to improve and create another techniques or another application that you can help to just extort that security of IoT devices. And as I said, the AI, artificial intelligence, we already use it just for improving the process by detecting and optimize the outcome from the business process. And here I mentioned the example for the blockchain technologies. As I already told that blockchain, it's not for it's not for the cryptocurrencies. It's only for we can also use it in many different structures like supply chain management and digital identities. How we can manage the data? How we can manage the data which is coming from IoT devices? As I mentioned that the IoT devices, it's already linking to the internet network or any network, even if the network it can be private. So it's collecting a high amount of the data. So those data, it's actually coming like a big data. And we already have techniques to analyze this data which is coming from IoT devices. But till now, there is no techniques that securing that a big data which coming from the IoT devices. So that's why actually we need to combine all those three technologies to get a full and complete the security levels for the IoT devices. Okay. Authentication of the blockchain. Before I started here for that authentication, which about the blockchains, actually in a blockchain we have two platforms which is containing, the first one is about the hyperledger and the second one is about the private network. We recommended for the IoT devices we use actually a private network which is containing that smart contract. So in smart contract we can writing the rules which is we wanted to be in the IoT devices before we declare that the IoT devices in the blockchains. As a research and for my projects, we already try to implement a blockchain network using the Ethereum platform, and we already create our smart contracts which is can securing the IoT devices by giving each devices not only the IP address, we actually giving we declare each device and giving something called digital identity. It's like a barcode for each devices which is declared in our blockchain network. Oops. And so before any IoT devices which is declared in our network, they need to verify that IoT devices with the others which is already a part of the network. Then that the data it's coming from that devices, we will encrypt it and give him like a hash numbers. So that hash number, it's help the others. It's help to securing the IoT devices, which is not possible till now that there is no case study. There is no even one case for the blockchain for the hacking blockchain network, and also there is no case till now in this few years actually for hacking any IoT device which is secured by the blockchain network. And what else? And And yeah, this is all the transparency of blockchain and trust for that technology. It's coming because this technology is actually using a decentralized for the data. So the data, it will be not in the one place. It will be hashed, and it will be devices on the all the peoples or all that blocks which is declared in the network of the blockchains. I think that's it, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Maha. You gave us a good insight about how you connect up the IoT and the blockchain. So please, you can join us here, and then we can, I think we've come to the end of the first session in terms of all talking. Now I think we can take some questions, and most of you have been very patient. So we are here now to listen to you. I think you've heard from the various experts, from the artificial intelligence sort of deep understanding to people like culture, and also how all these things connect up. So I think it's a good time now to take up some questions, and feel free. No question is a bad question. We have to learn from failures. So go ahead. It needs a mic over there, at the back. Can you just give us your name and maybe organization and who you want to talk to? So please.
So much.
We have
This was really beautiful presentations.
could you speak up a bit, because I don't, yeah, could you speak up? Yeah.
So this is Dr. Amin. I am from National University and Indian College.
Okay.
So thank you so much. It was really interesting, and it's also a learning curve for me regarding AI and its application. With all the respect from mind, body, and soul that I have for Sheikh Hilal, that you mentioned regarding the Financial Times, so there are 1,200 staff, and Washington Post 600. So in the between 600 jobs are missed. So who is going to look after those 600 people who lost their jobs? Are these big organizations are ready to share the profit with those who lost their 600 jobs? And also regarding the taxi drivers that you mentioned, some of them are resistant to use the apps. Maybe there is a grandpa there at the age of 60, 70, or 75 who cannot use the smartphones. And in this way, he is losing his job. So our governments are ready to look after him. Since we cannot say it is a culture of he is resistant, it is a common sense. When I say a tiger, I am afraid of the tiger, you know? So you cannot say I am not ready to be not afraid of a tiger because of my culture. It is a common sense. A grandpa cannot use a smartphone. So he is resistant to go for those apps. And this matter is really creating a dilemma in my mind, you know? Since, to be honest, I am looking after middle class down, not middle class above. So we should have always looking after them. And those jobs is missing. People are resistant, and I think it's a common sense that they are not agree with this. It's not a culture itself only.
Thank you. I think you directed that to Dr. Hilal here. So go ahead, Mr.
Thank you very much. I think it's very, these are the questions of today around the world, not only in Oman, but everywhere else. That what do we do when we digitize, when we transform organizations, and we make them more efficient and lean, as it were. What happened to the extra staff? Where do they go? This is across the board. One thing I can tell you today, as we speak today, we have, with one of our clients alone, we have 50 vacancies we cannot fill. so people are not available to do the work. Okay, so it's just the fact that the digital transformation, digitization, has created more jobs than the one it has been lost. This fact maybe many people do not understand. A lot of more jobs are being created because of the digital world than the ones which are being lost because things have been automated. So I think from the first, what we are saying is on the initial face value, that's what you look at it, but when you go deep, the only challenge which people have is, as again I say, is culture, is maybe to be able to change. They need maybe to spend a little bit effort to adopt a new. If you see the taxi app, okay, the taxi app does not require a lot of knowledge. There are only 2 or 3 buttons they has to press in order to take a call from a customer. Yeah. So I think we shouldn't place too much worry on that area. I think it is covered. Maybe my Saleh,
If you
Thank you so much.
would you like to add on?
Yeah, I will add something. So adding to this, every evolution we have made some people sacrifice their jobs. However, the ones who adapt, the one who change, the one who develop their skills, sustain that evolution and move forward. Talking about elder people losing jobs because they don't want to adapt, honestly, could be not a fair statement. Education and knowledge has no age limit. If you have the will, you have the way, and you have the how. This is what, and today, especially with digitization, with all that connected world that we have, knowledge is just few clicks away from yourself. So I believe this is a cultural behavior that we need to adapt to become more adaptive to the change that we have around us. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. You want to,
Yeah, just, these people address the people side of things very well. I just wanted to add on the technology side of things. Generally, like I said, there's always a fear of missing out. And a lot of people talking about AI replacing jobs, and I would say that is not true at all. In fact, AI standalone cannot really do much. We are nowhere close to artificial general intelligence. And AI will definitely help these humans become better. So probably a driver with an app can maximize his profits than a driver without app. So it's only AI plus X. AI plus the human will only be very powerful. Not just the AI, not just the human. So it's a really powerful combination to have. That would be my point. Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. And I think the question you raised, I think is very, very common. In as much as we always fear of change. But today's world, that the only change is these changes. And if you don't adapt, you get left behind. So there's always good reasons why I don't want to do A, I don't want to do B, etc. But the reality of time is that if you want to be effective, efficient, you want to be in today's world and not yesterday's world, there's no choice but to change. I'll give you a quick, small little examples. For example, I have my wife, she's a scientist, in health. But when the mobiles came over, she says, I don't want to have a mobile, I'll get disturbed. It wasn't because of the technology, it was because she thought she would be disturbed. But when she had the mobile, she wouldn't get out of it. And then recently, we talk about LinkedIn as a professional LinkedIn profiles. I don't want to get into social media. And this is my wife, she's a scientist, she's whatever, but she doesn't want to get into the LinkedIn. But when she got into the LinkedIn, she started liking it. She's always on the LinkedIn because now she's got a bigger reach, but she's learned. So to me, in today's world, it is impossible to isolate yourself. Big corporations, they collaborate with others. In today's world, social media, the last 2 years, there was a COVID situation. We didn't want virtual meetings, but we've had to learn. And the only way to survive was the virtual meetings. So unless you adapt, so the change will only be created if there's a need. So we do have to overcome the need by bringing different things. So adaptation, culture is a big thing really, and unless you're forced to doing it, it won't happen. So thank you very much, excellent question. I know there's more culture there. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add to one thing and correct myself. When I talked about the taxi driver pushing back the technology, as you said, they are human nature doing that. And I'm not saying that failure of that is because of them. Maybe the failure was because of us, the technology people. We did not sell the concept to them. They did not see the value of this. We failed. So the failure was not on the taxi driver. I think maybe the failure was on us people who are supplying technology and making them change. Okay? Because all those taxi drivers, by the way, they have mobile phones, smartphones, Android or iPhones. Okay, so they know how to use, they know how to scroll, they know how to select things on the internet, how to search things. So that's it's not a problem of technology, them not adopting to the new technology. It's just maybe they did not see what's in it for them. Okay, so that maybe. So I would like to. We all in the technology industry, maybe we take a blame for that.
Thank you very much. Any more questions on the right, the ladies over there? Please a mic to the lady at the back. If you can just give us your name, company, and or institution you're representing, and then also who you want to direct the question to.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Stabraq al-Ruhaili. I'm an AI engineer in Aspire for AI and drones technologies. Wow. Thanks for the presenters for this insightful talk. I enjoyed it, to be honest. I think who am I asking? I'm asking anyone who's in charge. For my opinion, as a developer, as a junior developer, in fact, I think the main obstacle we are facing in the development of AI technologies, and the main obstacle for us to get a proper or a faster digital transformation, is the lack of data, the lack of proper data, in fact. So it's not a question, it's more of a request for people in charge in Oman 24 digital implementation follow-up unit, or anyone who's a decision maker to provide a proper data center. So that data center will be responsible for making open source data. We like the open source data. I know that there is a fear of security, but that data center can monitor or measure the sensitivity of data and provide an open source data for the developers, because providing or having an available open source data for Oman will get us a proper insight for logistics, transportation, telecommunication, oil and gas industries. So I think that's a higher priority in that matter. The second thing is data monitor. We have data, but they are not fit for machine learning models. We have data, but there is a data gathering, there is data pre-processing, but that may take years to get us a proper AI model. So please, that would be so.
Thank you very much, and I think I understood. If I'm not mistaken, one, you talked about data management, and the other one is actually processing the data that you have. I think we got better experts here, Mr. Saleh and Mr. Prakash. If one of you could take that question, please.
So thank you so much. So when it comes to the data collection and data cleansing, what we call as a process, we look at data ingesting process. So the data sources that we have to be clarified, and we should understand the purpose of data collection, why we need this data. So the minute we have that understanding, the vision of why we collect this data, we will know what kind of data that we need to store, to process, and to give as an output. And for that, there is tools in the market today that they use AI themselves as a tool. One of them called Determined AI, other called, let's say, Emerald tools, that they can help you to collect, to point the right data, insights, and create from them the outputs from data processing perspective. On the other hand, machine learning is getting also developed. So something like swarm learning I discussed before, it can understand your data pattern and then create models that help you to process these data in a much better way and a much faster perspective. That when it comes of data collection and data storing. Now it comes to output, how we take this data and provide something meaningful from, this is where business and culture have to be involved. So we understand why do we need this data and how we can process this data to a better output. Irrespective of what is the output look like, could be visualization, could be reports, could be analytics. It depends on why do we need that. And then what field this data will be fed in. As example, if you want to use this data for genomic research, healthcare, you want to use data for digital manufacturing, more quality products, you want to use this data to understand the society or the community insights, so how they behave and how they can be developed and evolved in a better future. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to add one aspect to this. Your question is very valid. Today, a lack of data is a serious thing. And one possible solution moving forward would be building data markets. Right? So today, data marketplaces to be precise. Today, there is no incentive for me to collect data. Right? Now, if governments can facilitate a data market where, let's say you broadly know the kind of soil in a region, but do you know the soil boundaries? We know the state boundaries, we know the country boundaries, but let's say the number of, birds in a square kilometer. Today, is there an incentive for me to collect that data? No. But will that data be useful? Absolutely, it will be useful. So one option is think of it like a, Netflix of data. Right? So previously we used to go buy movie DVDs. Now the challenge was what if somebody downloaded it and did a piracy on top of it. But today we have Netflix, it's a successful business model. The same way we need to have data marketplaces where a data collector is incentivized to go collect some data and then upload it. And then somebody can go and subscribe to that data sets. The second question you asked, they should be monitored. Yes, they become stale. One thing we do at Zoho is we treat data like code. The same way we have GitHub repositories, source code repositories, where there is access control, there is, there is second factor authentication, there is code reviews done on a periodic basis for every release. Now, let's say there is a data set A and then you make a change to it, a data set A dash. Now, it would break a lot of use cases that were working earlier. So the thing is, treating data like code has really helped us as a company to help monitor this data. So now if this data marketplace could also have this data monitoring feature where how many data points were added, how many of them are stale, or do I have a sliding window where I just replace the old data with newer one and all that. So it would be a really powerful business model. There are a lot of companies that are starting up where they are just data service providers. All you do is sell data but in a legal way. It's not like I sneaked your data from your smartphone, but with the consent, with incentivity for somebody who is collecting data, I think that will be the model to go ahead. On the other hand, there is also some development in areas like transfer learning where you need not need that many data to build an AI model. For example, I'm going and selling an AI model to a small grocer. I cannot ask him to give me 500 images of each grocery item he sells, but 5 images is reasonable. So the technique is bootstrapping your data, bootstrapping your model from publicly available data sets and then reinforcing the special data points of that particular use. Think of it like handwriting. I have a very generic handwriting recognition model where it is trained on so many people, but for it to suit my handwriting, I probably have to write some 3 sentences. Then you superimpose this. So with just 3 sentences, that handwriting model is working for me. That is also another tangential approach to this problem. That would be my answer. Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, they do. Thank you.
Thank you. There's some question here. Can we put a mic?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Okay, right. We'll take it there. Go ahead. And then we'll take this one after that.
My name is Haytham Al-Zakwani from Ray International Group. My question here is very simple. How do you see Oman progressing with
can you speak up a little bit? Maybe yes. We cannot clearly hear. Yeah,
my name is Haytham Zakwani from Ray International Group. My question here is very simple. How do you see Oman progressing with blockchain in the couple of years, in the next 5 years, let's say?
Okay? So your question, if I'm not mistaken, is that how do you see Oman progress in the next 5 years?
Correct.
Is that correct? Right. Sorry? Blockchain? Did you say on blockchain?
Blockchain, yes. Blockchain,
Okay.
cryptocurrencies.
Right. I'll give that. So it's not a generic one about how the progression of Oman 2040 vision, but we'll give it on somebody who's an expert on blockchain. Maybe Maha will give us a little bit more insight about how.
It's working? Yeah. Okay. Actually, we already working on that. We are building a platform, especially for that sectors. And also we provide some rules that we allow and protect the people who is working in a blockchain network. Actually, we have till now there is no rules or there is no like we can't say privacy, so they can't protect the people who is using the blockchain technologies. But inshallah, we're looking for that. We already start building the platform, especially for Oman, that can help the people who is interested in that area. And be soon, inshallah, we will tell about it as soon as possible.
Shakhalal, you want to add on a bit more about on that side, or maybe Prakash?
So one thing about blockchain is, I think we in fact spent a lot of time in looking at how we can use it for payments, but then there are a lot of other areas where it can really make an impact. So whenever you're looking at a problem, you can see if it is a blockchain problem or not when there are more than one stakeholders involved. Let's say you and I are going to do business, but let's say we don't trust each other. Now, if I say I'm going to store all the data in my software, then you will doubt me that I'm going to edit it. So what we do is we go to a common blockchain where the data is shared to the whole world, and then there is an access record. So I see a lot of places like, land record management or things like where more than one stakeholder is involved. Blockchain would be a great use case. I think it's high time we look at blockchain beyond payment and finance related use cases, and that would be a real good value addition for any country that is looking forward to embrace the digital revolution.
Okay, maybe I can add on one more thing, because I'm very much into the logistics arena. To me, don't look at the technology at what are we going to push the technology. Look at back. What does Oman have to offer the world? I think today we want to diversify from the oil and gas. Logistics is the next big economic activity for us. So we should look at beyond the things that we are doing today, what can we bring in terms of logistics? Now, logistics, globally, if you use the blockchain, you can actually improve the current sort of data processing, which you need, physical, like a bill of lading, et cetera. Now, if you can secure them through a blockchain, and Oman is a strategic hub here for logistics, then you can actually improve your effectiveness. And people can come towards Oman in terms of transshipment, etc., because we are using the right technology. You are securing all your data from A to Z, and there's a lot of opportunities for people to fraud on materials, cargoes, etc. So let's look at what is our strength. If Oman's strength is logistics, then can we use the blockchain to enhance our position and also to enhance our security of that sort of economic activity? So I think we've got to look at it that way. I see personally, and I'm sure a lot of people see here, that blockchain will be the way of life in the future. Because, like for instance, when you are having land deeds, which have to be secured. At the moment, it's all manual, it's all written up. Tomorrow, those have to be secured in one blockchain. So when you're selling it, it's the only one. It's no somebody else can replicate it. So yeah, let's look at which particular areas where we can deploy the technology for the betterment of the country and whatever we're doing. So I'll take a question here, and then I've got a question here as well. But maybe take from the lady here. I think she was patiently waiting for a long, long time. And thank you, Haitham. I think we've answered your question.
Yes, it is. Yes,
thank you. Over here, please. There's a lady here with gray dress. Yes, think about more questions. We've got a few more minutes. I'll probably take another 5 minutes before we wrap up. So think about it. Give us not so good questions. Bad questions are also good questions.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nusayba Sleimani. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yeah, okay. So my question is about data privacy. Generally, when you're collecting our data, I have the right to know the data collected about me is going to be, what is going to be done with it. So in Europe, for example, they strictly implement the GDPR rules, and you have the right to have your data forgotten. So what is Oman doing in this sense? So recently, since the pandemic started, there's a lot of data being collected about us in the Tarasad application, for example, where we're going, or our vaccination status, and this app that you have been advertising, COMEX has been advertising us to download. So this is a question that I believe culturally a lot of people will have questions about.
Very good question again. I think data privacy is one big thing in this world. So I think, again, I'd like to throw to experts of Hewlett Packard, people like Prakash. So please, maybe you start with Hewlett Packard, because I think you are on the front line on this sort of thing.
Thank you so much. So thank you for your question. So generally, we see the same concern globally, so not just in Oman. So we have the same concern in Oman, Saudi, Bahrain, and other countries that we work with closely, even in Europe and UK. And what we believe that it's your right to have your data shared or blocked. You should take care of it. So GDPR was implemented in Europe. Other regulations and rules have been developed in the region, and I'm sure they will head the companies, and the company will receive these shortly. On the other hand, application developers who develop these applications put in concern that these are personal information and they have to be treated with care. And we believe that it's moving faster to that direction as well. The pandemic, because it came on a sudden, we didn't thought of how we protect the privacy of the information shared, because our goal was to protect people from getting infected, so to save the society so we can deal with these problems in a different day. Today, what we do in HP, we have a program called Gaiax, where data can be shared and stored without the real information from these data. It's not the pattern of the data. So we would know how your, let's say, data behavior could look like, but we don't know about your data, about your privacy, your private information. And that can be shared with multiple entities to analyze this information for better society or better outcome in the future.
Good. Anybody else to add on?
Yeah. So, like he said, it's a global problem. It's not restricted to one geography. And I think one way to look at this is the choice of software that we use, right? So, in the recent times, we have, all of us have a smart speaker, which is technically a microphone, right? It listens to all of your conversation. In fact, me and my wife, we don't have any pets at home, but we just did a quick experiment on, talking about cats and cat food and taking it to a vet and all that around the speaker. It is just a matter of 2 days before we started seeing cat-related ads all over our social media feeds, right? So as a consumer, make an informed choice. So today, it is actually a bad thing, but the fate of the industry is that you need to pay up a premium for something that respects your privacy, right? So look at, maybe at least if you're techie enough, please look at all the data a particular piece of software is collecting. For example, why does a clock app wants to know your location? Why does a battery app wants to collect your personal information? And so one way is hitting it at the source. Make sure you use tools that don't allow surveillance, because you see this whole AI is built on data. And let's say there is a cancer patient who is like at the last stages of his treatment, and for him to give up all of his data to get better treatment is a good thing, right? But let's say for somebody young, right, looking at his patterns and an AI identifying him that he is going to be a cancer patient in the future, and then jacking up his insurance prices, or it's all bad, right? There is a thin line between using your data productively and at the same time using data to harass you, right? So make informed choices is something which we all can do right now. Let the laws come. Yes, there are a lot of privacy regulations around the globe. There is a California Privacy Act, there is GDPR. Again, I'm not sure how well these fit into the algorithmic decision making. We have evolved so fast digitally, but legally we are still playing the catch-up game. So I think it's a matter of time before things fall in place.
I think, Ram Prakash, you've covered some of the things I wanted to say. That there are two parts to data. One is yourself, how much data you give out, which is your own choice, as the example is given. All the free apps we get on our mobile phone, if something they say, if the product is free, it means you are the product. The company gonna use you and to sell you around the world. But I think what she's also asking is that what is protection we have from the authorities of the data which they are collecting, like Tarasul, for example. I think Oman, the legal framework, I think not only in Oman, many other countries, as Prakash said, with the legal framework is always behind the technology advances. So inshallah it will take up. There are a lot of laws, new laws have come up recently, which would support would support people's privacy. But also, even if you mentioned GDPR from Europe, that will apply here to a large extent, because a company which is working in any part of the world, they cannot work in Europe if they are breaking the laws in Oman, for example. So, for example, Saleh Nemer, if HP misuse the data in Oman, they will get problem in Europe also. So that is a good thing for us to learn. But I'm sure also within Oman, things are moving also to that direction.
Yeah, if I can just add on one more thing, and keep the mic there because we'll come back as well. I think very important question about privacy or whatever else. But I think in today's world, things are changing so fast that if you wait for the legal frameworks to happen, they're like behind. So let us be streetwise and start looking ahead of the game, that whatever data that you share, what potentially could be an issue with that. So individuals have more responsibility to look after their own selves rather than the organizations, etc. Because that will be maybe 5 years down the road by the time we make a legislation, or whatever happens in America, what happens in Oman. So to me, individual responsibility for your data is yours, and please take care of that. It's like your own safety. When you drive around, etc., you don't wait for the person or the policeman to sort out a few things. Make sure that you're safe. So I would always look at privacy in that way, but at the same time, Oman, all other sort of institutions, governments, global companies have their standards, but they will always be lagging behind. And the new things are coming up tomorrow. We have to navigate our way ourselves, and let us protect ourselves, look after ourselves, learn about your privacy as best as you can, and apply that rule within. I'll take one more question over here because he was waiting patiently before I take one from Sadiq. Is that all right, Sadiq?
Mine was not a question, just an answer to
Okay.
her last part.
Okay, why don't you answer then?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So
Okay.
the lady there asked, the young lady there asked, like, we asked them to download the COMEX Tech Club app.
Yes.
And how's data going to be protected? Yes, this is a big question, not just for you, for us as well. So we have used some best practices, and this is a new app which we've introduced for COMEX because we are trying to digitally transform our registration process, our communication process, and we're trying to build a very big community of tech sellers and tech users, and also individuals and societies, because maybe you're looking for a job, maybe you're looking for some information, maybe you're looking for a free course. So all these value-added things will be on the application. But the biggest question even for us, like as a CEO of the group of the companies, how do we protect your data? So we've looked at talking to some experts in the industry. bringing in some best practices. Just one I will highlight, and of course we are open to learning because we want to improve. We want to be sure that you feel safe on the application. When you share your information, like for example, if you're going to connect with Varit, like Varit Kharusi is on the app, you're in logistics, you want to probably get a training or a job or something, or a reference from him. So when you connect with him, you decide, because you put the power in your hands to decide. Do I share my number with Varit? Do I share my email with Varit? Or I don't share with him, and still you can connect. And same way with him. If he feels, he can share his number to you. You can call him. So these kind of like best practices we've implemented for sure. But what I see is like more than the fear of losing the data, because many organizations, many apps already have your data, right? But what is the value from the application? Maybe you can use that to decide. And I'm not going to talk about this presentation, it just came up so you know what, there are so many benefits built into this for the exhibitors, for the visitors as well. So if there's value, get into it, use it well, but make sure that, you know, when you share your information with anybody, you yourself are responsible and you're the custodian of your information. And we will do what is the law, what is the best practice. And I think that's what all the responsible developers and the responsible companies are doing. COMEX is 31 years old. We don't want to be seen as like abusers of information and data, but we're all learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a great addition, and I think walk the talk type of thing, Sadiq. So you're using the app here, and you got all the data from us, so we'll come to you to give us the data of all the others. Okay, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadiq, for introducing the concept of value, which is the core of digital transformation. So I have a few observations to make and a couple of questions. Very interesting to listen to the technology side of digital transformation, the culture side of digital transformation. We need to approach digital transformation in a systemic way from strategic point of view, change management point of view, people issue. It's more of, you know, it's not just a technology piece. It's more of people, culture, change, and, you know, other aspects. So we need to, I just want to highlight that. And very interestingly, Sadiq highlighted the value. At the end of the day, digital transformation is all about value creation and value capture. And there are a lot of value which is hidden, which is trapped at the individual level, at the organizational level, at the industry level, and at the community level. So this is what the whole world we are looking at. And one more, just want to, the couple of questions I want to highlight here is, one is at the enterprise level, at the large enterprise level. Now there is a talk that today's, it should be at the top management level dealt, but today we are talking, it's all driven by CIOs and CTOs. That is also mentioned in the presentation. But there is a new thinking that we need a new breed of people who can understand the technology piece as well as the business piece of transformation. So there is a new breed of people like chief digital officers and chief transformation officers. So I would like to know from the experts, you know, your experience of, is it a real need, or can CTOs and CIOs drive? That's number one. Number two is, we are talking about digital transformation mostly at the large enterprise level. Now, what are your suggestions for small and medium enterprises to adopt? Because that is where the real transformation is going to happen. Thank you. And I'm Dr. Kabali Subramanian, Arab Open University, a researcher in strategy and digital transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank
you
you.
for the question. So, what your observation is totally correct. So today we see more specialization on the industry and the field of IT. So we deal today with digital transformation with the CDOs, Chief Data Officers. We deal with COOs, so Chief Operation Officers, who their job is to collect the information or to collect the aspiration of the organization and how the data can help that change. Within that as well, CTOs, we see a lot of customer CTOs and business CTOs. So these specialization talk about, okay, how do I drive my company or my organization with more efficient using technology? And then take that information to the accountant operation officers, take it to the chief operation officers, and then to the CIO to drive that transition. In my presentation, I showed that the CIO focus about the cloud side of the story. So how do I have this data and analyze this data in the back end, store them, make them up and running, make the application working. The CDO focus about the edge. So how do I look into my consumer eyes and see what they want to see, and how do I impact my change to fulfill that? The more we go to edge, the more personalization we will have for the customers. And I believe the blockchain is a big piece of this transformation, because the more we are distributed, the more we are personalized. Thank you.
Thank you. So you want to add on?
Quickly add to the second part of your question, small and medium enterprises. So back home, there is a particular coffee roaster just some 2 kilometers from my house, and that is where we consume most of our coffee from. You just walk in, this guy knows you, he knows what kind of grind you need, what kind of quality bean you need, and the moment you get in, 500 grams of so-and-so brand, yes, here it is, I've ground it and packed it for you. Now this is what we call recommendation or personalization in AI. And then the lockdown happened. And all of us started ordering through WhatsApp, where he will make note of it, and then we will do a bank transfer to him, and then he will ship it, he will give us a courier number, we'll go track that. Now, it didn't scale beyond, like how many people can he sell coffee on WhatsApp? So basically to large enterprises, when we go sell something, let's say we're selling a CRM, Zoho CRM. We go tell them why Zoho CRM is better. When we go to small and medium enterprises across the globe, we tell them why you need a CRM and why you should buy Zoho CRM. So I think it is inevitable for small and medium businesses, regardless of titles, they should have a very digital first mindset, because you're buying cement or you're booking a flight ticket, you're buying a coffee, whatever it is, the first touch point of your business is probably going to be digital today with all the Googles of the world and the social medias of the world. If you are not doing it digitally, I would not want to transact twice in a website where the payment keeps failing, or I would not want to transact with a company who has like privacy holes. And so small and medium enterprises should take it very seriously. It is essential for survival. It's not another fancy thing. That would be my point.
Okay, you want to add on?
Yeah, let me add one thing as well. So when we talk about digital transformation, the main cost of the transformation, or the main tax we pay for the transformation, is not the transformation itself. It's actually how we should operate ourselves during the moment of transition. Now, for enterprises, it's really worth to change and have complex systems like CRM, like ERP applications that you really need hundreds of people to manage and run, because you have thousands of operations that you want to cater for. But when you go on a small and medium businesses, this is a heavy burden on them. Having these kind of applications, these kind of solutions, might be too much or high cost, or have higher cost on them to run, where it does not match their budgetary end of the month. So this is why we see another paradigm called the cloud. So the cloud, when you have SaaS applications, where they can provide you similar flavor of these technologies with much efficient cost, that allow these small and medium businesses to stay on business, to move on with what the current wave of digital transformation that we see on the ground.
Thank you very much. Actually, we would like to start wrapping up because I think we're just within our time, but I think we better wrap up. I don't see that there's a huge burning one last question, so we won't take any more questions. But what I'd like to do is a little bit of wrap up what we have actually picked up today, where Oman is going towards the 2040, and basically building that ecosystem. The first thing I must say is that 3 years on after the COVID, I could see that COMEX in Oman has been one of the represented conference. I think today's people are actually looking at technology as an enabler, as something to do things differently, creating value, etc., etc. So I think that awareness Oman has today, and the local industry and the global industries, that technology is the driver of change. Oman need diversification, and we can only receive that value through different industries, through digitization, through the transformation of technology. But also one thing we've learned here today, that won't happen by itself. We need the culture. So the community in Oman, the global communities, the industry communities, the various communities, and also our own local communities need to embrace what we are going for. As a country, we need a clear vision going forward. 2040 has been discussed, but what will happen and what will change is each one of us doing what we are supposed to do. And each one of us are today much more aware about the technology and what it can do for us. We will only get the velocity of whatever is going through is by the change we embrace and how do we innovate the changes. And we've got to accelerate the transformation to get the diversification. If we get diversification, we have more job creation, which will of course help us, our communities like kids in school, etc. I'd like to add one more dimension that we have not really looked at, is that if we really want to have this excellence and progression, you need to start with the young kids, at kindergartens. Our system of education needs to be transformed as well to embrace the new changes, and we don't know what is going on. So we have to learn how we learn to change things without knowing what those changes are. So I would really look at that we embrace technology, we have to have the knowledge society, we have to have the education behind us, and you can see that if you correlate that worldwide, the education drives economies, and places like Singapore, etc., which are world leaders, have gone through the knowledge society making the changes, not only the technology. So that's how I'd like to wrap it up, and thank you very much, Saleh, Prakash, Dr. Hilal, and Maha. You've given us a lot of insights, and we can take it from here. Thank you very much,
Thank you so much.
and good afternoon.